Welcome to another episode of the PFF College Football Show. Max Chadwick alongside a very, very special guest. That is USC quarterback Miller Moss joining the show right now. Miller, let's take some time out, man.
Yeah, no, thanks so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Of course. So, listen, the first question I love asking every athlete I'm able to interview is, there was a moment in my life where I realized I was not athletic enough to make it in high school sports, college sports, NFL, whatever. What was the moment in your life, though, where you're like, whoa, wait a minute, I'm better than everyone else out here right now. Maybe a college career, maybe an NFL career is possible for me down the line.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it was ever like, oh, I'm better than everyone. I think it was just something I really loved to do, and that was really early on. I think just like my earliest memories of playing at like the YMCA with my dad, whether it was basketball, football, soccer, baseball, like I just had so much fun competing and playing sports, and kind of realized that if I had the opportunity to, I would love to do it for a long time.
Absolutely, man. So obviously you go to USC to become a starting quarterback there eventually, but you had to spend your first 3 years on the bench. Now, most players in your shoes probably would have entered the portal by then instead of sitting for 3 years. What made you want to stay in Southern California and eventually be where you are now?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a multitude of things. I think the first just being the people and the development that I was surrounded by. I think at any given point, staying at USC was the right decision for my career based on Coach Riley, Coach Wiley, the school, the people, my teammates that I built relationships with. And I think just an overall commitment to do what I set out to do. So I think it's really the combination of those two things kind of just highlight my decision to want to stick it out and stick with my commitment to the school and to my teammates.
So, dude, your kind of coming out party last year was in that Holiday Bowl against Louisville. You had 6 touchdown passes, a 90 PFF grade. A lot of people kind of went into that game thinking, okay, this is kind of the tryout game for Miller Moss to become the starting quarterback next year. How much pressure did you kind of feel as kind of like an audition for the 2024 season?
Yeah, I mean, looking back on it, there was definitely some elements of that, but I think within the preparation leading up to that game, I did everything I could to not approach it that way. To just approach it in the sense of, look, I need to go out there and continue to do my job at a high level. And if I'm able to do so, then, we'll have the desired result. And I think I did a pretty good job at doing that. Obviously, in hindsight, you view things differently. But I think the preparation, for myself, from Coach Riley, from Coach Kingsbury, who was still with us at the time, who was phenomenal and I really enjoyed working with, was where it needed to be. And I'm obviously happy with how that game turned out.
Dude, you're different than me, man, because I would have been shaking in my shoes, honestly, if I was out there, knowing the kind of pressure I had, and you obviously were outstanding in that game. I wanted to ask you, though, is it true, because Caleb Williams, there was reports that Caleb Williams wanted to play in that game, but also wanted you to play in it even more than he did in that game. Was it true that he wanted you to go out there instead of himself?
Me and Caleb never had a conversation along those lines. Obviously we spent 2 years together and became really good friends. He was a phenomenal teammate, and that's a relationship that I'll, cherish for a really long time, and we'll always support each other. We text back and forth kind of on a weekly basis. So like I said, we never had a conversation along those lines, but we've always been very supportive of each other, and I'm sure we'll continue to do so.
Sure thing, man. And listen, speaking of Caleb Williams, Lincoln Riley has quite literally never had a quarterback that didn't turn out to be an absolute superstar. Baker Mayfield, Kyler Murray, Jalen Hurts, Spencer Rattler, Caleb Williams, and now yourself. Is there something about Lincoln Riley and his system that you think really helps out quarterbacks and helps quarterbacks turn into absolute superstars?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, obviously he's very meticulous in who he picks to be his next guy, and I think you really have to earn his trust over a long period of time, which is hard to do. But I do think, like, obviously Coach Riley's next level when it comes to the X's and O's and dissecting defense and preparation and stuff like that. But I think what really sets him apart is his temperament and timing. When he calls certain things, and his ability to really cater to the player that he has and put him in positions to be successful with his specific skill set. So I think when it comes to that, I think he's one of the most unique people I've ever been around. And, to me, it's very obvious why quarterbacks have had success in his system.
How does it feel being like in that brotherhood of guys that are literally all of those guys right now are in the NFL and could eventually be starters in the NFL down the line too?
Yeah, I mean, I think I try not to look at it that way. I think I'm not in that conversation by any means yet. Those guys all had very accomplished college careers and have gone on to do, phenomenal things in the NFL as well. Obviously, the guys that have been there, and then Caleb just getting started. But I don't put myself in that conversation yet. I think there's a lot more work to be done, but it's definitely something to aspire to.
Dude, you could be in that conversation if you keep playing like you did against LSU, man. 5 big-time throws, 91.5 passing grade against LSU. From an outsider's perspective, it looked like you were in the absolute zone during that game. Did you feel like you were in the zone against the Tigers in Las Vegas?
Good question. I mean, I don't know if I ever like if you really know, I think for me, I try to be very process oriented, not only in my, approach and preparation of the game, but also within the game. So, I've done a lot of work on the front end to stay calm in those situations and really trust my training. And like I said, I've got a phenomenal group of receivers, a really good O-line headed by a phenomenal center that makes my job easier. And then obviously Coach Riley calling plays. So I think just having trust and faith in those guys will lead to success just throughout the year. And I think I was able to do that.
You speaking of your center, man, Jonah Monheim is a guy that we were super high on entering the year. And it's crazy that he could be a guy that goes from tackle to guard to now center and still play at a high level. He's one of the highest graded offensive linemen that we have in PFF. And what is it like having that guy in the middle of your offensive line, knowing you could trust him to call out all the protections and all that, and just having a leader like that in the locker room?
Yeah, it's phenomenal. I mean, obviously you spoke to his versatility, and I think that versatility really shows, how intelligent he is. And just having someone that's not only that physically gifted, but that smart, leading that group of offensive linemen really makes me feel more comfortable. And he's also just a phenomenal guy to work with. Like, we can talk through things on a week-to-week basis, and he's always open to, what I have to say, what I see there. And then obviously Coach Henson and Coach Riley working really well together. So I think we try to be extensions of them. And like I said, Jonah's a phenomenal player, phenomenal teammate, just someone that I love being in the huddle with.
So, Miller, another question I love asking players. I know it's still young into your career, but what do you think has been the best play of your career so far? The one I'd probably say is that whole shot you had against LSU to seal the victory in that game. But what has been your favorite play that you've made in your career?
I'm going to go with kind of a maybe not expected one. In the Holiday Bowl, it was the second drive of the third quarter. I had thrown an interception on the first drive of the third quarter coming out. They had gone down and scored to make it a one-score game, so we had the ball up 7. It was that, like I said, it was that second drive, the first set of downs that second drive. I think we kind of had we had a gain for no yards on first down, and on second down, you're kind of feeling that momentum shift within the game, and I think it's like you feel that as a player, and obviously you want to be on the right side of that. The second down play was just like one of my favorite plays. We called it. Kind of was getting through the reads, felt someone grab onto me, and was able to just dirt it at the back's feet. And that was the difference between 3rd and 15 and 3rd and 10. And I think something that we watch all the time, that we emphasize in our quarterback room, is finding those dirty throwaways to minimize negative plays. And I think, obviously, Coach Kingsbury spent a lot of time with Pat Mahomes. And one thing that he always talked about is Pat never took first and second down sacks. And he said completion percentage was the most overrated stat, because if you're going backwards on first and second down, you're putting your team in a hole. And I think we were able to convert the third down through a dig to the right side for about 12 yards. But if we're on 3rd and 15 there, then we're not able to call that play and convert. So we convert that third down, and then we go down and score to get it back to a 2-score game. And I think that was a really pivotal play in that game. So obviously, like the untrained eye, I guess, if you want to call it that, doesn't really, notice those things. But that was a play that I was probably most proud of in that game.
Once again, Miller, this is why you and I are in different shoes right now, because I would have said any of the dimes that you had in that game, and you're like, no, the incompletion I had was actually my favorite player of my career. That is a very mature answer, man. I love that. Another question I want to ask you, dude. You're right now the 3rd highest graded quarterback in the country under pressure with an 85.9 PFF grade. When I watch your tape under pressure, you seem to be so calm. And like you just mentioned right there, you seem so calm in the pocket when the guy's breathing down your neck and you're able to make the right play. How are you able to do that with defenders coming at you and you're under pressure and you still seem to make the right play every single time?
I mean, I think I just attributed in a lot of ways to coaching. Coach Heward, this year, obviously making the transition as our quarterback coach, has just emphasized what we call John Wayne throws in our quarterback room, where there's a guy in your face, like he'll throw med balls at us and have us finish throws and stuff like that. So I think that, and then just Coach Riley's emphasis on toughness in the quarterback room. As the quarterback, you don't get to be hit in practice, so your ability to show toughness doesn't come too often. So any opportunity that you get as a quarterback to showcase that to your team is obviously really important. So I just said, like, it's a large part due to the coaching that we have.
Absolutely, dude. So obviously you had a huge game already against LSU. Another big one coming up after this bye week against Michigan in Ann Arbor, against, two excellent defensive players, many excellent defensive players, but Mason Graham and Will Johnson are two superstars in that defense. How excited are you to be going into that environment against that defense and show once again what you have?
Yeah, I can't wait. I mean, like I said before the LSU game, these are the kind of games that you come to USC to play in. And I think our team as a whole embraces that. Michigan's obviously got a heck of a defense, and they've been very successful. So that's the kind of challenge that you welcome and you get excited for. And I think the whole team embraces that.
Absolutely, dude. And speaking of defenses, the USC defense has stepped up this year in a way that we haven't really seen it in past years. And right now, a 70.7 PFF grade. I mean, how does it feel knowing that, hey, we don't need to go out there and score 40 to 50 points every game? We have a defense now with Deanton Lynn leading it that we can really rely on in these kind of games.
Yeah. I mean, it definitely makes me feel better going out there. I think we kind of had an idea of how good that group was going to be throughout spring and fall camp, obviously, because we have a feeling that we're a pretty good offense, and they gave us some problems. So I think it's just really a huge credit to some of the guys that we brought in, some of the guys that stepped into new leadership roles that were previously here, and then the coaches that we brought in as well. I think we did a phenomenal, or Coach Riley did a phenomenal job in bringing the best there was out there. Coach Lynn's awesome to go against. I know he's really made me better in being more disciplined, in the decisions that I make throughout the offseason. So we had a lot of confidence in that group going into the season, and it was awesome to see that kind of come to fruition. Obviously, they're still trying to climb and be better, but really happy with what we've done so far.
Absolutely, dude. So what do you think separates you from other quarterbacks around college football right now?
I don't know. I'm usually not great with these questions, to be honest.
Fair.
But I don't know. I think regardless of me versus other quarterbacks, I think the biggest thing, what I'm always trying to do is elevate the people around me. And I think if we can bring myself and the other leaders around this team, if we can bring the best out of our teammates and the people around us, then we'll continue to be successful. And that's really what I care about at the end of the day, is the USC Trojans going out there and winning games.
Absolutely, man. Has there been any quarterbacks that you grew up watching that you kind of model your game after, even quarterbacks you watch now that you try to take stuff from their game and implement it into your own game right now?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, obviously as a young kid, I grew up, watching Brady and Manning, and at SC, Matt Barkley was really the guy that I always looked up to. I would say now Stafford's really the big guy that I study, Stafford and Burrow. CJ obviously had a great year, so there's some good stuff there. And then I like studying Baker as well. So I would say Stafford, Burrow, and Baker are really the three guys that study the most.
Sweet, man. I love that. And do you have any personal/team goals for this rest of the season?
No, I mean, I think if I had a goal, it was for us to, just stay process-oriented week to week. And I think if we're able to do that, continue to squeeze, every last detail out of our preparation, then we'll set ourselves up to be successful. And that's all you can really ask for.
The last question I want to ask you, Miller, is that, Zachariah Branch, Deuce Robinson, there are two guys that maybe not a lot of people are talking about as superstars in college football, but we feel like they're going to be superstars very, very soon in college football. What is it like, having those two out there, and even more of your other receivers out there as well, that you can, as a quarterback, rely on in there?
Yeah, I mean, I think one thing about being a receiver at SC is that it's very difficult for us to have a number one receiver because we have so many talented guys in that room. I mean, obviously you mentioned Zach and Deuce, but when you talk about Jacoby Lane, Mekhi Lemon, Kyron Hudson, Kyle Ford, we have just such a plethora of talented guys. And I think, the country will come to learn that and see those guys go play. But I mean, as a quarterback, it's every quarterback's dream, because it's really difficult for defenses to double guys and leave, the other really, really talented players in one-on-one situations. So I think it's awesome, and it helps our offense be more multiple.
Listen, Miller, I could tell you that everyone in America cannot wait to watch you and those receivers on that offensive line against Michigan in a couple of weeks, man. So best of luck in that game, and best of luck in the rest of the season.
Yes, sir. No, thank you so much. I appreciate it.